I want to bring two more examples around the scene queen against pawns. The first starting from the pawn endgame, and indeed most often it arises from a pawn endgame. Black to move and draw. Solak Saric, Olympiad 2012. There's only one move. Okay, you could make many candidate moves, whatever. King d3, c3, c6, c5, king f5, and then calculate them all to the end and then eliminate the losing ones. But this is quite a lot of work, of course. Also, you could also take the positive approach. But, of course, I haven't told you the guideline yet. Maybe I should do so. So, with a pawn on c2, an additional black pawn destroys the stalemate defense, usually, and the attacker would win then, and the queen. But if the pawn is on c5 or c4 or a5 or a4, then it's still a draw, as then the pawn controls square which is of vital importance for the queen's maneuver. With this help you could also try to solve it positively. Okay, I don't want to go into the calculation and elimination business, of course. This would take us too far afield here, and I want to emphasize the use of guidelines. Okay, the only thing is, okay, we could look at king d3, but this loses. Then the guideline comes that the queen wins if the defender has another pawn, as this pawn makes the stalemate defense unusable. White wins. The typical maneuver, and now king a1 doesn't work. The king must go in front. Must go in front, then the king comes closer and white wins. So this is a general case. Another pawn destroys the stalemate defense and then the attacker wins. But if this other pawn controls a square of vital importance, then it's a draw, and this is the reason why Saric played c5 and drew. Yeah, so it is, of course, would be sufficient to calculate just this line to know that the resulting position is a draw, and yeah, this is also, yeah, then it's okay. And okay, Solak tried many things, but in the end it was just a stalemate. And of course, the king must remain on the safe side. If the king would fatally cross over to the wrong side, then white's king g4 is just in the winning zone, and this would be lost. But of course, this is just for didactical reasons. It cannot be forced. And here, yeah, black could also play c4, as the c4 pawn still takes a square which is of vital importance, and or it would still be a draw. But okay, Saric played king b2, and maybe to be able to use the 50-move rule or the threefold repetition, that this game will not last forever. Yeah. And yeah, then Solak took the pawn, but obviously his king is outside the winning zone. You see how helpful the winning zones are. You can see all this business immediately, and after some further moves, the game was a draw. So an additional passed pawn helps an additional pawn of the defender helps the attacker, as it destroys the stalemate defense, and as a rule the attacking queen wins. But there are many exceptions if the additional pawn takes away squares of vital importance, and so this position is a draw, as the pawn controls b4. And this position is also a draw, as the pawn now controls b3. One further exception, Jurajev Solomon, white to move and win. Was rook d7 a good choice or not? Okay, the first answer doesn't have to do so much with, it is just a domination dance business. Rook d7 was a bad choice, as white would win by this domination dance business. The rook is much stronger than the bishop, and the pawn is much more dangerous than the bishop's pawn, so there are many ways to win as long as you don't try to queen too soon. The typical human mistake, trying to queen too soon. While preparation often is much better. This variation by Alex Baburin from Chess Today. Okay, going to the d file loses the bishop, and here it can be seen why it isn't a good idea to queen too early. The defending bishop can be out foxed, outmaneuvered. The diagonal is not long enough. Okay. So, but the answer I want, the problem I want you to solve is, of course, why was this a mistake? Now the position is a draw. Taking, and king d2, and now, yeah, this is an exception. The pawn is only on its 6 ranks, so 2 squares away, but nevertheless, white's king and queen are so unfortunately placed that it's a draw. They can do nothing, and the king is just outside of the winning zone. Again, I think these graphical winning zones help a lot. No calculation needed, it's just a draw. Yeah, and in the game, okay, queen e5 was played, but now the king is very far outside the winning zone. So, yeah, so the real art of the royal game is not to know the guidelines, even these almost guidelines which are almost mathematical theorems deep in the endgame. Even they have exceptions. And I'm a mathematician, but I nevertheless like this. The art is not to learn all the guidelines and winning zones and whatever by heart. The art is of the royal game to find the exceptions and to know when the guidelines apply and when not, and when concrete calculation is absolutely needed. Because the guideline, I know I told you, would be that white wins here, and it is almost always the case, but they are so unfortunately placed in this special given position that here concrete calculation reveals, together again with the guideline of the winning zone, that it is a draw. So this play between the guidelines and the calculation and the intuition when to use what, this is the real art of the royal game, of course.